Hello, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much joining Sakya Losal Chosna Tibetan Buddhist Society of Canberra. This is our regular Sunday morning 11 o'clock meditation, followed by a talk. So I'm doing this from today from our center here in Holder. So we're starting to open up, so maybe people still are not used to being opened up and staying warm in your home. Anyway, welcome and thank you for joining me. We will first of all do the prayers that is before you if you have a copy. It's usual to do the formality of renewing our mind and setting the mind in a good intention to do the meditation for not short-sightedly, for now, for today, for this session, for me, for the liking of the five senses. It's not this kind of thing, but for the benefit of in the future and mind stream and for the benefit of others. So with this intention, we pay homage and respect to the Triple Gem by way of doing the refuge. And then I will lead you in 3 slots of 10 minutes meditation, which is really based on sitting still calmly and letting your mind settle in peace and tranquility, and then followed by the talk. So thank you for joining us. Now, if you have secure your room and a space, please make sure you switch off all the gadgets or anything that is not towards your meditation, and set yourself completely free to be able to be fully present. And welcome to everyone who is physically here today for the first time. We probably still have to make people a little informed that we have opened. I'm sure we have, but maybe we haven't. People get habituated thinking we are not open. But we are open, so some of you at least took the notice and come here. Thank you very much. Okay, join your hands at the heart and do the prayers. Oyenda Buddha Dhamma Sangha Hajara Vyajala Dhamma Bhavaja Ajenda Ajara Vadavadu and Abu Tadama Zanga Adara Vida Aladama Bahavaja Adyandala Ajare Vadavadu and Abu Tadama Zanga Adara Vyajala Dhamma Bhaja Adyandala Ajare Vadavadu. May all beings have happiness and cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they never part from happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell in equanimity, free from attachment, aversion, and those never fall. May all beings have happiness and cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they know a powerful happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell in equanimity, free from attachment, aversion, and those near far. May all beings have happiness and the cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they never run the happiness that no happiness may then find equanimity, free from attachment and aversion to those near and far. So most importantly, you observe for S, stillness of the posture, and of course your attention, and sincerity of your intention, so that you honor your decision to sit in meditation, and with the serenity of your attention should be not distracted, not clouded, not sluggish, but very sharp and serene in paying your attention. And the technique should be simple. So with this in mind, keep your posture well seated on the floor with your two hands on the lap. Keep your back straight, chin slightly tucked in, your two hands and thumbs touching below your navels. So stay in that very stillness of not moving. The legs, the hands, and the elbows, and the back, and the neck. Your gaze or eyes is softly open, but half open, looking straight on the floor in front, not blinking, not widely open, looking hither and thither, no closed eyes, just a soft, peaceful gaze. In synchronicity of the whole stillness of the posture, you also keep the visual nerves still. Have a sense of single hair pulling you towards the ceiling, so that you keep your back not only straight, but avoid stiffness. Stillness may look good, but not with stiffness. So with this in mind, during these first 10 minutes, just fix your attention simply to scan the posture. Scan means you inspect and improve. If you notice the back isn't straight, gently straighten it, but not by moving too much. If you feel you're a little bit sloppy, exert the effort. Synchronize whole posture from the feet all the way to the top of your crown to yield, calm, and pacified sense doors. So your sixth sense mental consciousness can govern Observe, inspect, and guide the posture to stay in this correct meditation posture. Have a technique that scans the posture as one round, starting from the feet, going slowly up, all the way to the top of your crown. And then gently reverse the scanning with constitute positioning the posture, knowing the significance, checking and correcting, and then feeling at ease. Do half a dozen rounds without compromising, without moving. After every 6 or 8 rounds, take a short, sharp mini break. Just length maybe no more than 10 seconds. And then again go back to do more bout of scanning the posture. Even little numbness or pain registers in the body, just stay patient and still. Hold the vigil. As everyone else is sitting still and quietly, so should you. Do so without any touch of laziness, idleness, saying, or being bored. Do not entertain any of this. Bring your mind to the stillness and the point of posture. Checking. The mind is the checker, the body is checked. This is the one pointed concentration that calm abiding requires. while maintaining your 4S, the stillness of the posture, sincerity of the intention, and very serene and sharp attention, and most importantly, very simple technique. During this time, while keeping the posture, now focus your attention to the incoming breath. Consciously do the inhalation, know what you're positively inhaling, see the benefit, and feel inspired. With this, you stay fully present during the phase of inhalation, very, very positively inspired. And then as you permeate, consciously do the permeation of the oxygen in the lung. Consciously know it spread and floods your whole body. See it going into your blood and reddening your whole interior, improving your fluid in the body, and feel regenerated. And thus stay fully present during the permeation phase. And then as you exhale, do the exhaling. Know you're releasing carbon of sadness, dullness, bad feelings. All breathe out consciously with the carbon. See it go out and feel relieved. And count it as 1 each time you finish exhalation. And this way stay very still and one-pointedly do next rounds. Try to improve the sharpness and clarity of your attention. Count it as 2, and next 3, and so on. Try to do at least about 6 rounds or 8 rounds. And then take a conscious mini break if you are a beginner. But those who are familiar with this, keep counting without mini break. As high a number as maybe 50 or 40 or 20, whatever your ability empowers you. If you're distracted in counting the rounds of breath, then take a conscious mini break and then start again from 1. All this to be done very still, not only your posture, but your attention to watch the rounds of qualifyingly done, seen, felt, and known inhalation, permeation, and exhalation. Stay fully present with this mindfulness technique. Maintaining your stillness and sincere, serene, and simple mind. Now we built on from the previous technique to do this as reverse counting of the same qualified rounds of breath, preferably with sharper, more clearer attention. You do one round, at the end of exhalation count the number, maybe whatever number, 40, and the next one, 49. So you stay still, don't move, don't look hither and thither, just stay still and stay very serene, one-pointedly, calmly in the breathing, and then mentally count without losing the count, reverse. This will greatly boost your discipline, your attention, and your performance. According to the intelligent and predisposition of it, where the yet and the Dharma agrelo and come goes. So, once again, greetings to you. If you have just joined us for the talk, if you have already been with the meditation, of course, you are continuing that. Why you want to listen to a talk on mysticism when you can know what you're doing. When you're knowingly sitting still and breathing every round, probably it's more Buddhism than mysticism. Who wants mysticism? I'm sure. Today's topic is about not really so much about Buddhism, not so much about mysticism, but Buddhism without mysticism. Because what Buddhism is about a path that really makes you to become the knower and the know. And if you don't know, it's always a mystery. So mysticism is about secret and being one with God, or some who want to be with God when we hardly with yourself. We want to be with ourselves, hopefully with other humans, with other sentient beings. So who want to be with God? Firstly, we don't know where the God is. It's such a he's not GPSable, you know. So I'm giving series of talk when I'm available on Sundays on Buddhism without. In the past 2 talks I gave Buddhism without blind faith, Buddhism without sectarianism, and today we're talking about Buddhism without mysticism. And that's really important it's much better than saying secular Buddhism, you know. What the secular Buddhism is trying to see is they can't handle the mysticism bit. Fair enough, because they don't know anything. They don't know anything, even the basics. Why you wanted to try to know the secrets, that are only controlled by who has these secrets. You know, first you have to know who has the secrets, and secondly you have to get the secret from those who doesn't want to reveal the secrets. So, there's a lot of cultural mysticism that is associated with Buddhism. So it's very important when Buddhism is trying to make inroads in new lands, new frontiers, that basic Buddhism is first understood as a good, solid foundation, which takes a long time, by the way. A couple of decades, not enough. We're very impatient. But for individuals to develop what is Buddhism is Awakenism. We want to awaken our heart, and we want to know our mind and what it does, what it thinks, what it feels, and if we don't check carefully what the consequences that our minds and our thoughts has to your body, to your well-being or lack thereof. So firstly, Buddhism is a path. Path in Tibetan means lam, because lam means there is not a path unless you travel on it. To travel on the path, you've got to know the path, where it starts, where it goes to, what's its purposes. So you have to be shown the path. You have to know the path, not by merely believing in someone's pointing and telling it to you, but yourself knowing what steps you took that actually made you to go to cover the ground. There's a lot of people, they think they're going on the path, but they're going in circles. So samsara is the circle. Samsara is the vicious circle, and Buddhism is how to not to stay too long in that vicious circle. So we have to know what is the really core of Buddhism so that we do not get distracted by mysticism. So firstly, mysticism and Buddhism, usually most people don't know much about things, and And everything what you don't know is a mystery. So it's nothing really esoteric about it, you know. An educated man knows which no schoolboys know. So for the schoolboy, whatever teacher teaches is a mystery until he's taught. So it seems like until we know something, it's always a mystery. But when you know it, then it's no longer a mystery. You know the causes and conditions. So of course there are various heights of realization on the path that are mystical, because there's a lot of deification, a lot of thinking, the heightening people and things as if they are not humans, they are God, they are some Buddha incarnated, that kind of mysticism incarnated. and then who will know who to recognize that are incarnated? So you have to have quite a lot of reincarnated ones to know each other, and the rest of the flock just believes in the mysticism. They just believe the boy that is put on the throne, and then everybody thinks that he is such and such. But how do we know? It's secret. There's no way to verify. So there's a lot of culture mysticism in cultural Buddhism that are. So I think that there's a little bit of sort of truth in why this people begging or wanting secular Buddhism, because they can't handle the cultural garb in which Buddhism becomes so misrepresented. Having said that, the culture in which Buddhism is preserved are very, very thing that actually keeps the Buddha's practices intact. Without some of the cultural foundations, whichever the various Buddhist cultures and countries have preserved, and they are very important, integral part of that. And when we don't know, they're a mystery to us. And people who know that, it's no longer a mystery, it's a belief. They just believe. They just believe in God, and that's not a mystery. But if you ask what's God, they say, I actually have no idea. So it's secret even to them. But Buddhism is not about knowing God. So it's knowing your mind and what to do best with it, and how to transform your mind from the state of deludedness and unconsciousness and afflictiveness and karmic predicament in which we are completely controlled. So, therefore, Buddhism is our awakening our mind and making true reformation, and realization. These two things, reformation and realization. If we are to reform, we have to know what was the form that was not good. Deluded, selfish, angry, blaming things externally. And these are the forms in which we are enshrouded and covered and ensnared. So we have to be shown a path how to unpeel this, peel off these obscurations or conditionings, karmic or otherwise. So when you meditate, for instance, the way we were sitting there, we're trying to uncover the thoughts that are so distracted, that are so much in the past, that are so unconscious, by bringing our attention just to the simple inhalation when you're inhaling, as simply when you're permeating the oxygen in the lungs, and when you're exhaling, when you bring your mind to one pointed attention, it naturally avoids itself from staying in the past or angry or sad or hurt or negatively speaking. So it is posited. You are actually positing your mind to do this one-pointedly, and each time you do, for instance, if you did one of the slots of the meditation, such as counting reverse or forward counting, like I was doing like 45 in forward, and also roughly about 45 in reverse.
And during that time, there was no sign of any of the afflictions popping in or taking me away. I was just completely one-pointedly there, and I can keep my body, the mind, and fully present. As a result of that, this will enable me to be how to remain conscious of my own thought. When I'm thinking positive thoughts, when I'm inhaling, I actually make them as I go. I'm complete creator of my own situations, and so whether we are doing now consciously or whether we did previously unconsciously, and if you are suffering, it's because you have yourself have done something wrong that is producing the suffering that you're currently going. But when we are not on the path, we point finger to others. We always try to say, oh, he did this to me, they did this to me. And then always externalizing and developing anger and blaming and not taking responsibility, one's own responsibility. But when you are truly conscious, when you're really, really conscious, you know your own negative afflictions, this afflictive mind are conditions. They are not you. They're just conditions. These conditions are unconditionable. So this deconditioning of negativities awakens us and makes us step by step towards the path of the Buddhahood. Buddhahood means Awakenism. It's not a destination. It is every step you actually know. No, you become knower of thyself. So therefore, Buddhism is about knowing yourself of its lack of existence, lack of the thing you think you are. You're not what you think. The culture or color or creed or gender or profession or a situation, or one who lost a job, one who's fearing death. This is not you. This is just your body. This is just your opinion of it. But you are not. You are beyond that. You're not psychophysical entity. You are consciousness. You see? So consciousness is a mystery to most people, They can't show it to you, So therefore, a little bit of, the more you meditate, the more you become demystified. That you are not body, you're not your mind, you're not your body or this. You are consciousness. And so is you, so is he. So everybody is basically consciousness become unconscious. So to know that your consciousness become unconscious, you have to be very conscious that you have been unconscious all this long. And it is a bit of a mystery to most people. They didn't realize they were so unconscious of their own selfishness, their own righteousness, that makes them to feel somebody did this to me and then give themselves this aversion and enmity, not realizing they themselves are brooding these negativities. Their own negativity creates illusory enemy. Enemy doesn't have a label on his forehead saying, I'm enemy. It's just we label them. He doesn't even know how did you made up that. So they only appears as what we unconsciously think. But we are not operative consciously. Our consciousness is not operational because it doesn't tell us that we are doing it. So your sufferings are largely created mysteriously. Yeah. If you really wanted to know about mysticism, know about your sufferings are mystery to you. You thought it was all caused by others, but now the teaching will reveal the secret that it is created by your own unconscious mind. Thankfully, you can consciously undo it. So it's not a mystery anymore. So you don't have to live in the hand of God that He will do it for you. You see, that Buddhism does not say Buddha will heal your problems or take away your sufferings. No matter how much you believe as a Buddhist, people do so only to inspire them to use the Buddha as a model or to inspire them. But actually you yourself have to do it. So that's why there shouldn't be the mysticism in thinking that your problems or sufferings will be allayed by praying to Buddha. Cultural Buddhists do. And a lot of non-cultural Buddhists also wanted to learn that. Oh, how do I pray to Tara so that my sufferings are laid? They actually deify the goddess Tara as someone out there who will pay heed to you. And because why? Because everybody's basically very theistically minded people. They want to be Buddhists, but they still are very theistic. They really, because Buddhists have lots of wisdoms with the nose and eyes, and we call them deities. Because wisdom you can't introduce to people as wisdom as emptiness, because most people say, "Oh, what's that?" But when you show a little pretty girls called White Tara, elegant men called Manjushri, and they all have nose and hands and colors, and they're carrying things. They have insignia. They all want to deify them. You see, so this is where the mysticism comes, because people cannot get away from the idea of Godhead. They really think they want to become one with God. And Buddha, in 2,600 years ago, walked away from that. He wasn't there to promote Godhead, particularly the one people who believe that he's creator of everything and judge over you and send you to hell or reserve a seat in heaven. These kind of beliefs did not gel well in the mind of the Buddha as a young man. Therefore, he went in search of how to demystify this idea that God is what you want people to become one with. But you wouldn't believe, not only Judeo-Christian people background, Buddhists themselves, cultural Buddhists themselves, always try to externalize Buddha and the deities out there so that you can get boon from them. You have people say, oh, he had a vision of Tara in his meditation. He had Manjushri when he's 23. He had such and such when he's 40. Oh, they all mystify. All these things are completely un-Buddhist. Sure, you might have vision of someone. We have vision of so many people here. So what, I mean, you saw somebody with a nose. So what's that? What does that mean? Yes, we see many people with nose, many people with their hands, and many people with their watch on their left hand, and gold rings on their ears. So what? I mean, no. So why we have to deify all these deities? See, most people don't hear that deities are not deities. Deities are representation of the wisdom of Awakenism. To awaken your heart, good heart, is Avalokiteshvara. To develop your wisdom is Manjushri. It's not because people are so used to looking for something to hold, to think they got it. Therefore, they're introduced to deities as initiation. So the whole ritual is very mystical. And they say, oh, if you receive the empowerment, you will vibrate, or you will feel straight. You will get some mystical experiences during the empowerment. Oh, that's a powerful Lama or powerful ritual. All these things is very, very un-Buddhist, really. These are really going to this gray area of mysticism and supernatural things. Buddhism is basically very sane, very basic. And so the idea of people wanting to look into the secular Buddhism is firstly the Buddhism that actually makes a relevant use to this very life. Doesn't have to really, you can't see future lives, for instance. You can't see future lives. You have to believe in maybe there will be a future life, but it still is a mystery to most of us, Maybe we all believe. You can have said, do you believe in future life? Everybody say yes. But how do you know what kind of future life you will have? Do you know where you'll be born? What form, what life? Most people, it's a complete mystery to you. Isn't it? Even people believe it. But most people who are cultural Buddhists, they don't want to entertain all these things. They just know there will be future lives. and so they say, oh, you better behave now carefully so that you talk about that in this life. people are experiencing results of good deeds they did in this life, and you don't have to be with one with God to know that. It's just facts. It's just law of consequences. We call karma. There's nothing mystical about it. If you study math, you'd be a mathematician. If you study health, you'd be a nurse or doctor or whatever. So you don't say you study carpenter and you try to be an engineer. You can't do that. So whatever you create causes, you just become that, and even in the conventional knowledge. So because when you talk a lot about mysticism, some of the earliest books written on Tibet was about magic and mystery in Tibet. The Alexander David-Néel, this French lady, she probably traveled as far as Sikkim, but not beyond that. But she said she went to Tibet. She thought Sikkim was Tibet. A poor lady. There's every reason to think so, because there's Tibetans, there's very high mountains, they're all turning prayer wheels and going around the stupas, and so they all seem to be doing what Tibetans do, and then she met some Sikkimese who are teaching Dharma and so on, and everything they were talking was very much magical and mystery to her. She was a very quite good, otherwise very good Buddhist scholar. And she studied Pali and so on and so forth. And her book was called Magic and Mystery in Tibet. But actually, she did not even go to Tibet. So that's a mystery to most people, but she told people as she did. But she took photos as if she was in front of Potala and things like that. She probably was quite good. Someone photoshopped her in those days, and of course those yogis studying and meditating in the caves and Sikkim was just like they were doing in Tibet. So there was nothing secondary about Buddhism or forms of practice in Sikkim. So people definitely have various spiritual uncommon experiences that are definitely mystical to most people. So I'm not saying it is not possible when you practice true Dharma, you will definitely have mystical experience. Mystical experience meaning something secret. Mystical, word mysticism, it's very secret to the ordinary, conventional people. It doesn't mean such a reality does not exist. People have number of various spiritual experiences in their meditation, but most of them wanted to validate that some levels or height or state that they have reached to that is real. They don't realize that's just a passage. They don't realize it's just a passage. You might have enmity to someone when you're deluded as an ordinary being, and while practicing loving kindness and slowly will enable you to have no more ill will, resentment towards the person, but instead you have lots of forgiveness and compassion to them. Now, if you have that, you wouldn't call that mysticism. You would call that restoration. You restore your humanity, Dharma really means restoring, and protecting. It restores you protects you from enmity, restores your goodness to have compassion to the person you previously have enmity to. That's the real meaning of Dharma, Choedak in Tibetan. It restores your goodness, it protects you from backsliding in your deluded state of mind. Now, that is not mystical. If it happened to you, I'm sure some of you have that, thankfully, hopefully. I'm sure some of you have changed your narratives. You no longer tell the story in the way you do. You no longer think that. That was when I was so selfish, that was so deluded, so angry, so righteous. When I'm so righteous, I used to think like that, but now I realize how everything's interdependently originated, not entirely one thing is cause of everything. Previously I thought it's all his fault to me, and that now when you no longer think of that, it's a reformation, isn't it? Okay, Dharma means to get well. Dharma is a medicine. If you take medicine that works, it should make you get well. Now, how the medicine does that? It's a mystery, sure. I mean, you put some tablets and you feel good, don't you? I mean, who will know? I mean, who knows that? Yeah, your car goes when you put some oil. Who knows that? Not you, but mechanics will know. So mechanism of the car is a mystery to the most drivers. They only take to the garage, and most garage people, some are very good, but some are really to you completely, whether really they think that you have lots of these mechanical errors or not, you have no idea, But if you service regularly, nothing is a big shock, So to most people who do not know about car mechanics, when something doesn't go well with it, it is a mystery to you. But who knows the secret? The mechanic. Okay? So like that, the Buddhism or Awakenism is a secret to you when you are not doing the awakening. But when you're doing the awakening, such example of absence of ill will. This is very important. I'm not talking about some mystical things. But that happens in people when they're traveling on the path and they realize through meditation and mindfulness and awakenism and altruism, they no longer harbor the same ill will they deludedly used to, brood and anger and so on. Now they have capacity and fitness to no longer have that ill will, ill will towards somebody. Now do you want to give credit of that to Avalokiteshvara? Yeah, the four-armed friend, man, we have helped you. Because two-armed doesn't work sometimes. So 4 extra 2 hands helps, yeah. So meditating yourself in a four-armed Avalokiteshvara, reciting the Om Mani Padme Hum. You see what I mean? There's a lot of mystery there. You don't know how it works, but sometimes doing Om Mani Padme Hum, maybe half an hour or so, definitely shifts your mind to see, I don't want to think that I am done wronged by him anymore. It's so unhealthy and so unliving. This is just sick. I do not want to do it. Maybe your meditation in general and Avalokiteshvara meditation and blessings of our teachers and our teacher's teacher. Yeah, we don't know how it works, but somehow it is in empowering us to no longer have this mentality in which you used to languish and suffer. Now, if you have experienced that, would you call that mystical experience? I would call it, transformation. Yeah, some people will call it mystical. Somebody help him. Maybe you touch the Avalokiteshvara's nose. You rubbed against his nose and yours, and you get the real honey. The New Zealanders, you touch the nose of others, you feel welcomed, and you get some goodness of them. Sure, it's possible. Why do people want to shake hands and feel good? And I mean, something's there, mister. You don't know how to explain. You gave a hug and it felt good. You didn't even smell the body odor of the person. You felt so good when they welcomed you. So there's always some things we cannot explain that is completely secret to us. So instead of mystifying Buddhism, but when you're growing, say you no longer have ill will, not only to that person, but also to anyone in the future. Yeah, you lost hatred, basically. You lost the passion to have anger anymore. It's just so destructive, so costly, and you don't want to go there. And you have developed the fitness, and you did that through meditation, you did that through study, and so you walk the path, you walk the talk. So you walk the talk, yeah? And maybe it came from the teachings, maybe it came from the meditation, but mainly yourself taking initiative to take what needs to be deconditioned and what needs to be reconditioned. Yeah? There are now lots of machines that reconditions looks better, is it? So we are all these machines that recondition, but the mechanics person knows how it does, but we don't know. So there's always a mystery. Even if your car wasn't working the other day, and you left in the garage for 2 days and went and picked it up, it works so fantastic. You wouldn't know why it is. So there's always mystery in everyday life too, Amazing, isn't it? Look, all these people on far remote Zoom, and we can hear each other, we can see each other, but it's a mystery to us most of the time mechanically how does modern technology does it. Almost at very little cost, In the 80s, it's the phone calls. Damn phone calls cost us so much, isn't it? Every phone, but actually, it doesn't cost much at all. Now, if you know the technology, it doesn't need to cost so much, but it adds to so much convenience. So science is quite mystic. I'm definitely when it comes to the gadgets, I'm completely mystified how they work. So science is full of mystery, see? But when we talk about Buddhism without mysticism, I'm really talking about how to not lump Judeo-Christian views, idea of mysticism and being one with God and God came to talk to me and all these things people tell, but how do you verify that? In Buddhism, Buddha himself said, don't be a occultist or palmist or astrologer or soothsayer or astrologer to tell people all these things. He says, you teach people how to live, how to live. And of course, when people advance on a certain level higher than the average person, then their experience of meditation definitely brings them many, many experiences that are not common to you or others. Maybe a few other practitioners may know those, yeah? So it's secret to everybody, but to you and others who practice that, it's a level of consciousness about whether you can communicate, whether you can see, whether you can be somewhere that you physically don't need to go, or you actually do receive occasional visits of Tara. And she brings fresh fruit sometimes. Don't you have friends who come and visit you and bring fresh fruit? Well, there's nothing mystical about that. I don't even have to wait for one who delivers. I just go to the Woolies and it's all there. You don't have to go and plant even one of them. You can get the fresh ones every day if you like. So if you really look at that, we have to therefore see the uses and abuse of mysticism. This is why it made me to think about this topic. There is lots of use in traditional Buddhism, the use of the mysticism, yeah? Saying who's reincarnation, particularly Tibetan Buddhism. I'm not one of them. When it comes to that area, always time is spent to who is whose reincarnation, and then all that high status of the previous one. And so in order to put someone in that position, someone has to choose with mystical experiences about where he's born, who his mother is, and so on and so forth. And now, whether they give credit to some high officers like His Holiness Dalai Lama, some high lamas, most people, probably it's not true. They only told all kinds of stories that mother has this dream, father has this dream, they saw this mystical, and some rainbow came, and all this rainbow becomes so interesting, used. Rainbow is used to edify someone's reincarnation. There's so many donkeys being born with a rainbow too. I mean, a rainbow is there, but who you want to give personalized association with your birth? But yet, these stories are told, and all these amazing stories are jacked up, and then tell the High Lamas, they say, oh, this sounds very good. Yeah, maybe it's okay, if you're all convinced, okay. And then they say, His Holiness Dalai Lama recognized that. Wow, that's amazing. Then everybody sort of edified that even more. And then the boy is just there's nobody. He haven't even gone to school. He doesn't have a clue what he's asked to do. And all of a sudden he's put there, and then not only one mother will bring her stories, but a couple of half a dozen other mothers. They're all attached to the damn Lama who died. So half a dozen, sometimes many more than half a dozen. And it is short-listed to 3 or 4. And rivalry, the fighting, the politicization. This is what I'm talking about, abuse of this mysticism. And then, why? Because the previous High Lamas has a huge estate, huge follower, huge following, and huge material, assets. And the question is, how will they make sure that the boy who's recognized gets all of that? Plus the mystical and a kind of deification that is not human. He's actually the previous wise master who have come back again. You see what I mean? This kind of abuse, I would say abuse, because the boy hasn't got a clue. He can't even remember where he put his toy yesterday. Let alone people think he is such and such, like wise soul and wise, as if there's kind of permanent soul that came to claim his status. All of these, not only cultural Buddhism like Tibetan Buddhism try to do that, but it's their followers also unashamedly or blatantly believe in that. And you can see there's even half a dozen Westerners who are recognized. Half a dozen Westerners recognize. You know what happened? Usually those mothers are among the students of the amazing teacher they thought was amazingly realized. It's so cute, It's so the Lama knows where to be born, doesn't he? It's not, he doesn't end up as a donkey because no donkey mother would say this my fowl is previous such and such Lama, because donkeys can't tell. But who knows whose rebirth? So this kind of belief system, this kind of system add to the mystery. And yet some of the highest position in Tibetan Buddhism are held by this tradition. And now we are facing quite a lot of them saying they don't remember any of this. They don't want to take this responsibility. They just don't feel up to it. And they don't want to stay in this position. And they have voluntarily stepped down, and this is not talking about a few Western tulkus, Westerners who are put on this space, but quite high Tibetan Lamas who are in their 30s, just totally said, look, I'm not this. So this kind of mysticism, these kind of things has definitely sort of added this kind of mysticism where people are almost deifying people, and instead of looking at that in the teachings, they are focusing on people and who they think they are, more than ordinary human, and they all put high unrealistic expectation, how they ought to be, ought to behave, ought to have power to heal, power, that they have no karma, they have no delusion, and then ordinary people are expecting unrealistically. and this kind of mysticism has abused, maybe hasn't helped. So that's why in true Buddhism, wherever Buddhisms are, there is some kind of mysticism, like some monks or some practitioner passes away, and then their relic body leaves some relics and so on. But even relics, even there's some pills, some bells. What's that going to do? The real relics is Dharma. It's why you have to go for physical things to grasp it. Real religion is the Dharma. And yet, you see what I mean? So all this looking for things to grasp, to hold, and as if that person was somebody special. Of course they are special. They were. Whether they're special or not, don't look into their funeral pyre. Look at their actions. Look at the goodness they did benefit to a people. You know what I mean? You don't need to look. You don't need to look at some round pills. And who knows? Maybe they smuggle those pills and put it in the funeral pyre. Who knows? Who knows? They seem to be pretty identical ones. So people are always adding mysticism, and then remove themselves from looking into Dharma and practicing of it. They're looking for some mystical figure to rescue them and lead them and teach them, to take them to say, some Sukhavati or somewhere. This, therefore, Buddhism that Buddha himself taught people to practice, at least firstly people have to be benefited in this life, to the extent of reducing their karma, changing their, reforming their body, speech and minds, attitudes and behaviors. Reform means everybody has lots of faulty lives. They will not be born in this corporal body with past karma. And because of that, they need to reform behaviorally, physically, verbally, and most importantly, mentally. If they are able to see the reformation and protection, then now protect. Even if somebody now are very, very aggressive and violent to you, there's likelihood of you developing ill will and anger and resentment towards them is protected. Means you're covered. You no longer will do that. Why? Because previously you thought it was someone else's doing that you have a reason to be angry, but it was a mystery to you. No, it's yourself knowing what not to do in retaliation that's going to undo the harm or intended harm that directed to you. You're not offendable anymore. You're awakened. You know exactly how to shield yourself. You have refuge. Refuge means you have refuge from retaliating to the harm doer. And not only you have refuge from not retaliating, you have refuge to the other. You give refuge to the other so that they will not be harmed even more, but will not be harmed by the action, because they will be helped by your non-retaliation. See, it's a protection for both. Protection for both. If you protect yourself from retaliating, the other who abuse you or who aggressive you, who are aggressive to you, you will not retaliate, you will not abuse them back. And now that protection, that will inspire the third person, fourth person, fifth person, anybody who sees it will be inspired. That's real Buddhism. This is real Buddhism, awakening humanity. The ripple effect of you having no resentment and being kind, no matter how bad somebody is or something, will have a very positive effect to those around you. They say, my brother used to be so angry or so negative, but now he's so kind and so patient and he's so tolerant. As a result of that, it will inspire every single other person, and that's a real Buddhism. That's a real Buddhism now. This is the healing, that's trying to unseat the affliction with the medicine of right mental attitude. So, ill will is replaced with goodwill. Greed is replaced with contentment. Ignorance is replaced with wisdom. So, how do you get to practice that? Listen, like we are doing here. We are listening to the Dharma. This Dharma is not taught by the Buddha because he became expert in it. Went to college and no. No. He realized that through his years of journey, taking steps, psychology of the mind. How does the mind itself create unconsciously the problems it least want? And unless we know that, how could we consciously create the causes of happiness that we so much seek? So almost you have to have a subjective understanding of the workings of the mind, which to most people, it's a mystery. Isn't it? You didn't know until you meditated. You didn't know counting rounds of breath and sitting there every morning slowly increase your literacy of your mind. Oh, I can read my mind. It's good. You don't need other people to read your mind. Hopefully not. You rather read your own mind, and you know what thoughts to keep or recruit and what thoughts not to even host, let alone post, or let alone share. So you become very cognizant of your own subjective thoughts. This will therefore increase your awakening. Awakening meaning you grow. Someone sent me a question, what's the purpose of life? And I thought for a little while, and I said, learn and grow. Exactly, just learn and grow. You just learn and then change, grow up, Previously you thought this unconsciously. As a result, you did this, and the outcome was unpleasant and didn't help you, didn't help others. Now you learned from that and earned the knowledge, and it taught you to grow up and not to do that again, or not to do likewise. And from mistakes, we learn how to take the right position. If you are harmed by a mistake by yourself, you are doomed. If you have learned from your mistake, you have grown up. You don't learn by avoiding misfortunes. People think they are smart. They avoid misfortune. You can never avoid a karma. I don't know what misfortune is. Karma is bad. Karma is bad. Lots of things you did, and you can't miss it. It will come to you. What is misfortune? Others can't do it to you. So you can't run away from your own unconscious actions. When you know that, you better own it up. You better own it. You better take responsibility of it instead of pointing finger at others. And become unconscious again, which most people, quite easy to do, They are doing something right. As soon as that, they give themselves license to think, why did you do this to him? Why did you do this? And again, we harbor ill will. So back to square one. Back to square one. So there is a state of mind that we can empower ourselves. And this is why cultural Buddhism definitely need to readapt itself if it wanted to make inroads to new frontiers. Some of the culture Buddhism, they don't want to do any changes. They want to keep just as it is. It suits them. It suits their culture in the past, and they don't need any reformation or change. And of course, who will impose change on them? Yeah, but pseudo Buddhism. Those are pseudo Buddhism. But actually, they are still externalizing the savior out there, and they're not really looking at their own awareness to develop the wisdom through meditation, and meditation through discipline. These three trainings, really, That's why we always meditate. Meditation is most people don't have discipline to meditate. They don't know how to meditate. They don't even know how to sit still for 10 minutes. They can't keep the posture right, let alone keep the attention right. But then you learn to have discipline to sit still. How to sit, not so long. Nobody can sit very long. So make still, short amount of time. I'll just sit still and have firstly the posture. First tame your body. First discipline your body by your mind. Particularly the gaze of the eyes, You might be there, your mind is still going through the back door. Body is very fronting up very well, but the mind just disappeared, just went through the back and thinking all sorts of things. You notice that when you're meditating, isn't it? How difficult it is to keep your mind still. Keep the mind still, you have to keep the body still. Why did the Buddha sit under the Bodhi tree? So that he can emulate the tree that is growing behind him, not to lean on it, okay? So tree was not to lean on it, but tree was so that he can emulate that tree, which is constantly giving to the world, isn't it? Tree is always giving, and Buddha want to grow, so that still the tree is not saying, I'm growing here this morning, I don't like here, I will move over there. Tree doesn't change its positions, Maybe inanimate, that's good. Maybe we should be inanimate. You should sit like an inanimate posture. Buddha was sitting. Most cow herders came to see, they saw him, they thought he was inanimate because he wasn't moving. But yet he looked like a human being, and they say he's a human being, obviously, but he's not moving. So they poked, sticks in his ears, blew trumpet in his ears. They did all sorts of things. But they didn't disturb him. Why? Because he was so still in not losing his mind to the ears or to the tactile or to the visual consciousness, to none of the five sensory consciousness are available, completely shut down, so to speak. The sixth mental consciousness is completely present. Likewise, if you discipline to sit 10 minutes without moving, this is what we were doing, 3 slots of 10 minutes. Very good. You try to do that every day yourself. And have a technique. What I'm going to do in the first 10 minutes, second 10 minutes, third 10 minutes. Try to vary the techniques and become a little bit interesting, and so that you know what to do. If you can do forward counting of qualified round breathing while sitting still, and without being distracted, say if you come up to count down to 45 or 50, that's usually you can do it in 10 minutes. You don't try to make it very long inhalation or long. No, you just make it general. And then you don't lose the count. Now, if you can sit still and have your attention also very still, one pointedly on the point of the meditation, that is the discipline. With the discipline, then you become what is meditation? Meditation makes you present. Present means become conscious. So when you have the discipline, you become present. When you're present, you develop the wisdom. Wisdom is you only experience what you think. You don't experience people and what they do. You only experience what you think they do. Wait a minute to distinguish whether it's what they did or what you thought they did. Two different things. Most people are suffering what they thought the people did, but what the person did is completely different. It's a different opinions. So therefore, make sure that you are not suffering what you're thinking, but you think is what he did. Big difference, a mystery. Later on, people realize, I thought that was you, he did this. Oh, that was you did this. No, it was your thought about them. So when you have the wisdom, you know how to distinguish your thought from the object or perceived object. It's a mystery previously to you until you have the wisdom. And as a result of it, you know how to back off. Oh, it was all my mind, my attitude. And then you try to change your attitude. And how do you change the attitude? Through meditation, you begin to see clearly, it's my thought about that. It's not that. And appearance and reality are two different things. When you don't know the reality, it's secret to you. Yeah, it's mystery to you. So every meditation does have some mystical experiences. You, of course, if you say that to people, it's your thought, my dear. It's your attitude about him. It's not what he really did. You have to deal with what your attitude is doing rather than what you think he did. These are two different things. That's your perception of him. May not even be agreeable to your sister or brother or others. It's all your perception. If you do that, you're empowering them to change the attitude. But if you tell them it's what they did to you that's the problem, then you are just not helping the person. So this is where true Buddhism is, where person actually learn to reform their attitude, yeah, and then become protected from backsliding or relapsing in the bad attitude, which one used to suffer. It's good to know that one suffers one's attitudes, not people, not places. They are just conditions. Condition is multitude of conditions, but the root cause is your own attitude. When you cannot own your own attitudes, everything can condition to you because you're so vulnerable. when you didn't put the glass very stably, it could easily fall off because you never put it properly. Whether somebody touched the cloth or whether the wind blew or whatever, anything can tip it. You're that vulnerable. You never put the thing carefully yourself. So the very root cause is your own not being able to own your own mind. And when you don't know that, that's a real mystery to you. You don't even know that. So when I say mysticism is about knowing, revealing the secret, we don't want to know our own secret, our own afflictions, our own selfishness, our own ill will and self-importance. If we knew that, it's called awakening, And of course, this sense of but if you can teach this practice to people, then it's useful, Then use of mysticism, not in a Christian sense, and we call experiences. Yogis have transformative experiences. Deluded people are stagnant with their own deluded perception. They are stuck with that perception. Yogis have left that, and their perception is changed and transformed. Yogis have transformed experiences. Deluded people are still stuck in the past. So, yogis' experience is secret to the deluded people, And the enlightened ones has pure perceptions. That's even more mystery to us because we have not yet purified. But at least when you're practicing, you are shifting. You no longer speak in that enmity and venom of hate towards the other or about the issue anymore. Why? Because you have regained your consciousness. You realize it's all your opinion, it's all your prejudice, all you're colored by your own ill will and negativities. It's not about it, but it's about you. When you own that, and then you want to drop that, and you want to adopt the better attitude. That's a reformation. That's a real Buddhism. Buddhism means awakenism. It awakens your heart. It made you to grow strong and kind to yourself, to your past, and not to mention to other people, because other people are all past, past selves. So if you're kind to your past selves for languishing and suffering in that manner in the past, and you want to prevent that from reoccurring, and now you feel through a meditation you have gained some insight. This insight is a really behavioral, therapeutic, and people can see it change in you, your attitude, your behavior, your thoughts, and it will make them happy. Oh, he no longer looks at me, or he no longer treats me like the way he used to do, because he's completely shifted. You no longer have the ill will and wrong views that is previously just holding you at bay. You're not in prison. You're freed from the prison of poor me. Is that mystical? Yes, if you don't know how to do. Maybe some monk touched you and you woke up and you became free of the ill will. Some people might say, oh, I saw that, I met this thing and I did this. After that, I just have this. They might attribute some mystical experience that High Lama or somebody had. That's possible when you're ready. You must have walked a lot to get there. That Lama or that teaching is just the condition. You have to do all the walking to reach there, and that's just like, yeah. So when people say, I took refuge, what does it mean? Cut a little bit of hair, give a name. What's that? That's not refuge. Means you have walked until that point where you need to become changed. And you just solemnize that change you in that ceremony, But otherwise, it was all not so mystical. It's what you have to do. What have you do? But people say, oh, as soon as I went through that ceremony, I got changed. Wow, sometimes that kind of mystical experience might last few minutes. Maybe your feet didn't touch the ground or whatever. But after that, you are in a pool of something. You're not only on the ground, but you're in a pool of mud. You're stuck back to square one. So what was the mystical experience all about? Oh, fairly, yeah. So really, really important to not to mystify these spiritual practices, but be really, really logical and practical to see how much your own behavior, your own attitudes has shifted and learned and grown, so much so that your afflictive emotions are much more now conscious of you. You're much more conscious of afflictive emotion. You have to put your safety belt on, when you drive. But when you live, you have to put the safety belt to take refuge in not to brood those afflictions, those wrong views, those fixed views, your strong opinions, all those perceptions. You're suffering your perception, you're suffering your opinions, you're not suffering anything else. But when we become conscious of that, when you become conscious of that, you are now conscious of the temporariness of the affliction. You can make the affliction temporary because you don't want to issue visa more than temporary visa. Affliction, just 4-day visa, okay? Even that is reviewable. So you don't allow those afflictions to stay long in your mind because they are temporary. Just even the problem is temporary. The persons, what they did is temporary. Your attitude and harm that you think they cause is temporary. Then they don't even really, truly might not even exist. And be careful, check carefully, man. There's nothing to be temporary because there's nothing there. Even temporary one doesn't exist. Even temporary one does not truly exist, And as long as you're slow, the temporary ones continue to stay. Some people get healed quickly, move on. Others stuck there. Why? How long is temporary to you? How long is temporary to some people? It's permanent. 5 years. They suffered that wrong view, suffered 5 years, and they never knew how to make them temporary. It was 5 years. 5 years of prison. That's bad. That's a long prison, long sentence. So the Buddhist teaching says we are all in prison. We are all in prison of samsara, prison of the attitudinal vicious cycle. But we know how to undo them. You can make them short. You no longer have to stay there anymore in that wrong view. You don't need to stay wrong view, only if you knew it is a wrong view. But most people do not get taught how to write their wrong views. But they think they should write somebody else. They all try to write other people, and if they're good. If they're not good, you think that's bad. And then they're just constantly suffering other people of their own perception. They are not internalizing how to write themselves. Rangi semne yonsu means taming your own mind, not try to expect you're wanting to tame. You expect others to be doing the taming. That you must be a pretty mystical person. You can make everybody change because you're trying to do a little bit. Then you think everybody should be fantastic. No, they're still deluded. They never heard of Dharma. never heard refuge. Of course they will be languishing in that because they knew how to. When we used to have no Dharma, we used to always externalize things. We always go to seek help, and they also tell you, yeah, they did to you. That's the problem. Oh, you're a victim. Oh, yes, every helper will tell you that. From small personal helper all the way to highest position, highest level people try to help you. They always tell you that you are a victim, what they did to you. That's the problem. We'll help you to convict that, and then the prison get even more. Before it was only minimum security prison. Now it's high security prison. Now the person is completely protected by all these people also believe in your neurosis. It's not your neurosis, of course. It's all what people did to you. So there's nothing. So Buddhism is how to free yourself reform yourself and protect yourself from self-harm. All the suffering is caused by self-harm. So addicted to self, it is harming itself more than doing any help unconsciously. Poor thing. And that's terrible. It's worse than illiteracy, worse than blindness. We can lift slavery, we can lift illiteracy, but still we haven't lifted samsara. Samsara is not a place. It's a vicious, unconscious cycle of poor me. Vicious cycle of always self-centered. Now, when people try to seek some external savior, be they deities with a nose and ears, or with some people with high positions and so on, that's the mystery we don't need. This will definitely hinder people in learning true Buddhism, because they're deifying, they're externalizing the savior outside. And Christianity teaching that, all the other religions teaching that. So why Buddhism 2,600 years ago had to come in the first place? So the very purpose of the Buddha practicing all that years, renouncing all of that, has served no purpose, because people haven't actually understood the Dharma. They just replaced the God with the Buddha, and they multiply that with the little other pretty faces, and some with the extra two hands, and so on. And otherwise, always deifying, externalizing the God out there, and we want to be with Him, or we want to be protected by Him. You wouldn't believe how much Judeo-Christian attitudes of externalizing Buddha out there is so widespread. Why? Because most people are still brought up in that, always looking for outside to help you, or you think all the harm's caused by outsider. Buddha said, you are your own master, and as mentor, as your friend, don't seek one from outside. You need a teacher called enlightened teacher, that's the Buddha. You need a human teacher. But these two teachers, enlightened teacher and human teacher, is only to teach you the wisdom teacher. Give you the wisdom teaching. If you don't have the wisdom, even you have surrounded by human teachers, with thousands of Buddhas around you, they're just good company for the cafe. But to allaying your own sorrow, you need the wisdom. And the wisdom, prajna, we call, comes from meditation. Samadhi. Shamatha, calm abiding. And that comes from discipline. Shila. Shila means to abstain harming yourself by being restless, being so busy, doing hardly any useful, go there, try to wear this jacket that matches your earring and this sort of thing. Always worrying about how one looks and how one appears and spending time doing that, spending time going there, and have no time to sit and be present. Even you go to work, you're hardly present. You go there, wish you weren't there. People say that all the time. They say, they should be fully present at work. They don't need to be sitting and counting their round of breath. That's pretty boring to do so long. Come and do something practically useful. Go and fix someone's yard or door or the gutter or carpet or the furniture, or do something useful and do that with fully being present. So you can see, when you have discipline, The discipline doesn't mean just on the cushion. Maybe it's good to have formal time to be able to earn that merit of what's like to be really sitting with good discipline and meditation. Then you can see, the kind of consequences of sitting on the cushion empowers you to do whatever chores around the house or with people. You're fully more present. Yeah, you're very present, So now you are not late for your work. You arrive on time. You are effective. You are accurate. You are able to produce them with good speed. You see? And you're happy. You make the others happy because you're reliable. Do you? Why? You're present with what you do. And what you did will benefit people too. Some people do much things, but not so much willingness, and then doesn't benefit much. Those two who do, heartily speaking, willingly, cooperatively, and harmoniously, and courteously, okay? Don't do so much, but do those with wholeheartedly, and you can see how present you are at your work. Whatever you do, don't have to, because nobody can do the same thing whole time, Only the crazy yogis do always sitting. They have to be pretty crazy just to sit, months and months and years. And they're pretty crazy, really. Only the crazy ones get enlightened. Not the basic, sane, decent people. He's all over. But crazy yogis are very few, so don't you worry, you won't become one very easily. So. Some people are afraid they may become crazy yogis, All the yogis were really treated crazily. You wouldn't believe all the Mahasiddhas were completely misunderstood. They were all expelled. They were all shunned. They were all very, very controversial during their time. And they are eccentric. They were not understood by the people. Majority anyway, only few who understood them, knew them, but they all were like that. But yet the contribution they made to the long term of the long lifetime of Dharma is through likes of their achievements and their adeptness of the practicing with such a discipline. They were fully present in whatever they were doing. And yes, they definitely have mysterious way of doing things, and they don't care. Therefore, carefree dignity, they call it. They develop this carefree dignity. They're not answerable for anything, and they might even be so irresponsible too. Mahasiddhas are basically like that. They just drink, empty 18 taverns wine, and he still haven't paid a penny. He said, you have to serve first until I finish drinking, and then I pay you. And they make an agreement that. So they were very mystical figures. If you read their biography, you couldn't believe half of it. Yeah. You couldn't believe half of it, yeah? Most of them are full of legendary stories. Even the life of the Buddha. They say, he was born not from the mother's womb. It just all of a sudden appeared looks like from mother's armpit. What kind of armpit is that, And he just walked 7 steps to every direction. And that's hard to believe. It's even not easy to tell. These days, not easy to tell, Someone like Thich Nhat Hanh wrote this biography of the Buddha, White Clouds, is it? All Path White Clouds, isn't it? Something like that. And you read that, he has sort of sanitized that biography of Buddha, because otherwise every Buddhist like him will write those amazing, magical, mystical things, all this happened. But he's telling a little bit like a children's book type of thing. You read it. There's a little bit of sort of magic there, but he's telling it in a kind of very, very sort of toned down version of it. so the book isn't too mystical and magical to read. Like the Buddha was a boy, and he just deserted the parents, which is nothing new, really. A lot of children desert their parents, or vice versa. And you can, because everybody's disappointed with somebody. And Buddha showed that he was disappointed with his role. He didn't like his job. He wanted to leave the palace, and he actually left it with great urgency. He just deserted them. If you read his biography that he wrote, you can still see there's a lot of mystery that you can't answer. What was that? Of course, when people's level of realization peaks, it is not common. Not common people can relate to it. That's why there's always a certain area of mystical experiences that will be told, but we should still be really more logical, practical about using the very function or purpose of the Dharma is to heal our mind and heart and our ways that are not healthy, beneficial, and maybe even destructive. And being able to heal our mind and the body and spirit and change our behavior are not mystical. You don't give that to kind of healing by the Buddha. Dharma heals you. Buddha said, medicine heals you, not the doctor. And he said, I'm the doctor, the Dharma is the medicine. And the medicine it heals only not by keeping it in the bottle, but taking the medicine yourself, not reading the script over and over again. So some people practice Dharma as reading the script of medicine again, not actually taking their medicine. Om Mani Padme, Om Mani Padme, Om Mani Padme, Om Mani Padme. Maybe he recited Om Mani Padme half an hour. Then when he got up, he hit the door. So what's that? Yeah, lots of people do that sort of thing. They release the doves, They release the doves for peace, but they keep the hatred. So what's the point of that? You like that, And they release animals in cage, They release animal in cage, but still keep eating meat. So what's that? So there are lots of contradictions like that, if you look at that. Why? Because people are not conscious that these two are contradictory. And these are full of these contradictions in every one of their lives, And you slowly go and patch them up. Oh, that's not right. Even I released the dove on my Mother's Day. I still am holding this ill will towards him or her. That's not good. They're also a mother, So best way to practice is being kind and repay the kindness of your mother and tell her you love her and offer your apology if you haven't been so cooperative on this day. Nothing mystical about it. You just have to do it. And when she receives your call or when she receives your little note, it's magical. It was mystical to you. Previously, it was mystery that you wouldn't know that you and her will be healed and reconciled only if you have the goodness to do that. So it's mystical in that sense, because mystery is a secret, It's not about becoming one with God, but one with your mom, one with sentient beings. Is more important. I mean, most people can relate to that. It doesn't have to be mystical, Otherwise, Christian mysticism is about becoming one with God and know the absolute. Gosh, we haven't got time for that yet. We have to be in the real life, real mother, and reconcile with her. And God might even approve that. And of course, He will. So with this, we will conclude here, everyone. I'm sure you're all having a special Mother's Day. And real mother is wisdom. Of course, we have been fed by the breast milk of the mother, whose whose wisdom of practicing selflessness to her is a constant example. If you have you become a mother, then you know what your mother did to you. Those who haven't been a mother, you haven't got a clue. That's your problem. Amazing. But of course we can learn. You know? I mean, some are not yet mother's age, but when you become a mother one day, you wouldn't believe how much you appreciate your own mother, much more than anybody can teach you. And fathers too, by the way. Fathers, why I don't know how I've just separated Father and Mother's Day like that. They're all same, really. So with this, thank you everybody listening and being present with us. We will conclude here with the dedication merits that all those difficult situations in the world, mothers who are seeing their son or daughter not return home and having to do very unnecessary, violent, warring works. So spare a couple of thoughts, and may the peace come to the world and mind of those people. Remember their mothers instead of shelling other people, and reconnect and reconcile and stop all forms of violence. I'm sure it's possible if all this kind of goodwill can be radiated. Thank you, everyone. Om Badis Meremeveg Dadipa Benzega Omniz Mealeverabis Ram de Oshana Badadesinaz Herenda Mahayana Dij whatever merit I have, may have begun to the Mayana Dij, Hazama Rabadadila following all the example I shall the matter may the excellent body chita where has been booming freely with the generation. So thank you, everyone. So we will be having these Sunday sessions mostly here. I will also request those who are giving Sunday presentation to come here in person and present, so that we all now will use these centers and people can meet and learn and facilitate that way. And I will also be available weekend after the next, but so whenever I'm able to, I will also make sure that I'm able to come here. I'm totally dependent on the kindness of the people driving me, but if nobody drive, I still will get here. So there's no problem with that, because I have some mystical wings. I haven't used them yet. Thank you very much.